Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Williams. Hopefully, I've got the audio working today. So for those of you that are online, thank you for joining us. Maybe just on the right-hand side, there is a chat function. Just go ahead and let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. And if so, we can get going with the presentation. While we're waiting for that, to give you a quick update, I'm one of the founders of Resonance Research. We're a newly established direct sales company. We have three main mobile applications that we've made available to the industry. The first mobile application is called the Resonance Go, which is more designed for kind of at-home sort of telemedicine kind of wellness balancing. Then we have the Resonance Home, which is it's a relatively easy to use program, consisting of maybe 20 or 25 different main programs, and then within each program you have different modules. It is based upon voice analysis, so we can actually analyze your biofield, and then based upon your voice analysis, we then look for imbalances in the body, depending upon what your voice profile illustrates. You can then go ahead and select specific playlists to help get your body back into balance. The Resonance Home app was really designed for the sort of end user in mind, something very easy to use with very little kind of thought process behind it, a type of sort of plug and play application. And then the last application that we have, which is our sort of flagship app, is the Resonance Pro. The Resonance Pro app is the app that we'll be going through today. So for those of you that have just joined us, thank you. The Resonance Pro is our sort of flagship mobile application. It consists of many different programs, many different modules, and the idea behind that is, the idea behind the Resonance Pro is to give you the ability to sort of window in on client-specific issues. So it kind of drills down deeper into the human biofield. It analyzes the body based upon your voice imprint, and then it looks for a kind of reaction of your voice against a database of thousands of different energetic signatures. So that's what we'll be doing today. For those of you that have just joined us, if you have any questions, there is a chat function on the right-hand side. Please, by all means, go ahead and post your questions there. So I'm going to see if we can pull up the Resonance Pro. That's looking pretty good. All right, let me know if you can see the Resonance Pro up in your screen. That would be super helpful for me. Actually, I guess I need to bring that up. So hopefully you can see the Resonance Pro. I'm actually just going to go ahead and close out of that in the meantime. So as you can see, looking on your kind of icon here, your dashboard, the Resonance Pro is the icon there that obviously says Resonance Pro. To launch it, we just go ahead and click on that. And your first page that you get to is known as the user records page. So basically within the Resonance Pro, we have a built-in database. All of your client records and your past records and your past results are actually saved to the server. So if you ever lose your device or you want to change your device or something along those lines, you just go ahead and you would log into your Resonance Pro on a new device with your username and password, and then you'd go ahead and download your database, and then you'll have your database with you wherever you go. So it's 128-bit secure encryption, so it's 100% safe, stored up to the server, which is always good for you, so you can always retrieve your past results and your past clients. So looking at this page over here, we've got a few options. The first thing is, if you look in the top, you've got to access your past client records. It's pretty simple. If you want to have a look at any past client records, you can click on that. You can pull up your client records here. You can edit the client, start a new analysis, or you can delete your client completely. Typically, what we advocate is that when you are beginning with a new scan, it's always important to click on the begin a new scan. What this does during this time, and you can't actually hear the audio tones, but this actually generates, I believe it's the 528 solfeggio frequency, and that kind of sort of clears the past energetic imprint of your client. So to kind of put that into perspective, it's just, those of you that are familiar with computers, you've got your cache files, and your cache files are things that are always sort of stored in the kind of background of your computer. It just makes it easier when you're loading, existing applications, or you're loading existing websites. There's a lot of cache files that are kind of like temporary files. And what we like to do is to get a kind of clean, energetic read on your client. We like to click on the begin new analysis, because essentially what that does, it kind of removes the sort of cache files. So once we've done that, we'll just go ahead and you enter in your new client. Can be first name and last name, whatever identifying characteristics you want to use with your client, date of birth, and then the gender, and we click next. So once we click next, we actually get to your sort of wellness markers. Your wellness markers are designed to help you understand the clinical context of your client. It's like a sort of intake form. So those of you that are existing practitioners, if you already have an intake form, by all means, you can certainly skip this. But the idea behind this intake form is for you to glean insight into why your client is actually coming to you for a session, or if you are using it yourself, it kind of just helps you window in on what specific issues that you want to focus on. So just be aware as well, this is a basic intake form. This doesn't influence the results in any way whatsoever. This is just to help you gain some insights into someone's clinical context. And as we're going through the Resonance Pro, I'll always be going back to the clinical context. And when we look at the results, it's kind of always important to look at the results through a sort of filter or through a lens. And that lens should always be the clinical context. Kind of helps you identify the issues of concern. So in the top left-hand corner, you can do your identifying wellness markers. So I'm just going to put digestive issues, and maybe we'll put some good old COVID as well. These check boxes, you can just go ahead and you can check. So anything along these lines just helps you get an idea about your client's current state of health. Click done, and then you go ahead and click on begin. So here is where we begin with the voice recording. So basically the whole premise behind the Resonance Pro is that we actually are recording your voice, and that is how the analysis is done. So during the voice recording, what you want to do is say A, E, I, O, U slowly, the vowels, which is the most important, and then any sort of positive-based affirmation. It's a 15-second audio sample that we require. So you want to go, the most important thing is to start off with your A, E, I, O, U slowly, and then if you have time, you can do any positive-based affirmation or something that you want to focus on during the session. So A, E, I, O, U. My name is Ryan, and I am happy and healthy and want to focus on my cold and flu-like symptoms. Okay, so once the voice recording is complete, you'll have a little pop-up message. And if you have a look, just above this message, there's the voice format. So these are the kind of dominant voice patterns in your body, or the voice formats. Those are the sort of main voice frequencies that we use during the analysis. You can't really glean anything from this in terms of an assessment, or it doesn't really give you insight into your client's current state of health. But we are using those those specific voice frequencies during the analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, click Next. Here we currently run the voice formats through what's known as a fast Fourier algorithm. So basically what we're doing here is that we're taking a kind of real complex voice wave pattern, and then we run it through a mathematical program. It's called a FFT, fast Fourier algorithm. And what that does, it takes a real sort of complex wave pattern, it kind of simplifies it down into a real sort of simple wave pattern. So that's what we're doing, and that we kind of do that as a primer before we begin with the testing. If you want to upload a photograph, you go ahead and you can click on that avatar. We'll see if we have an existing photograph here that we can use. Whoopsie. And we go ahead, we begin the analysis. So a little disclaimer, we utilize the image analysis and a very, very small percentage for the actual overall analysis. I'm guessing probably between sort of 3 and 4%. Just to be real candid, it's a algorithm that we worked on a good few years ago. When we released it, we weren't so happy with it, but nonetheless, it still does provide some insight. It does help establish the energetic connection as well. So it's something that we've left, but certainly if you're given a choice between a voice or an image, you definitely want to go for the actual voice. So here we get to the system overview, and here you are presented with an option of your energetic affirmation entrainment. So basically what we have the ability here is that anything you want to focus on during the session, you can go ahead and type this into a box. And what we do is that we take that as a text and we convert that text to a sort of homeopathic remedy or a sort of homeopathic frequency. And then every single time we are running the balancing, it is taking that as a sort of homeopathic frequency, and it's overlaying that together with the additional frequencies as well. So the affirmation entrainment, I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and I'll put here, I am happy and healthy. Click OK, and another message. You know, one of the cool things about the Resonance Pro is that we have a lot of sort of first-time pop-up messages. You know, those are designed to just give you some little pointers in terms of, you know, what to do next kind of thing. So, you know, take a moment, have a read through it. You can always click on that option where it says do not show that message again. No problem at all. You click got it. And here we are at the system overview page. So the first thing is on the bottom, we have a begin analysis. So let's just go ahead and click on the begin analysis. So during the begin analysis, what we are doing is that we've now taken those dominant voice frequencies. We've run it through the FFT. And now during the scan, what we are doing is comparing the database of the Resonance Pro against your actual voice wave file. So what that means is, you know, essentially, I guess when building software, there's kind of two things to look at, or there's two things that I always refer to. You've got the sort of interface, and then you've got the database. The interface are the cool graphics and the text and everything else that you're looking at here. And then you've got the database, which is the back end where everything is run, everything crunches the numbers, the analysis, etc. So every single line item that you are looking at here, as an example, the sacred geometry or the Nogier or the meridians, etc. Within each and every line item that you're looking at, we've got anywhere from 8 to about 16 different frequencies within each line item. So what we're doing, we're comparing those 8 to 16 different frequencies against the original voice wave pattern, and then we're looking for sort of deviations away from the norm, if you will. So looking at these results over here, you'll see first and foremost, we have broken up the biofield, or the kind of the energetic analysis, into your biofield, into your mind, and then into your body, just to try to kind of break it down. So when we're looking at the high items, which are denoted by the red, those are indicating a probability of significance or a reaction within the body. So in other words, during the scan is now complete, and we've now got these high reactions. So if you look at these reactions, it's almost like if you look at sort of homeostasis within the body. Homeostasis is when all your bodily functions are working within a certain band or a sort of certain parameter, be it your temperature, be it your heart rate, be it your oxidation levels, etc. When everything is in balance, your body's in a state of homeostasis. When you become sick is when something is out of balance, when your body falls out of homeostasis. And that could either be on the top or on the low. And that's really what we're looking at here. So, in terms of, if we look at the biofield, the highest item here is sacred geometry. Okay, granted, you can't really take much away in terms of how to analyze the body against sacred geometry, but it's giving you an indication that the body has responded high to sacred geometry. And then if we go down to the bottom, we look at solfeggio tones, the body has reacted the lowest to the solfeggio tones. However, just looking at this kind of up and down, you'll see the solfeggio tones are not in blue, so it's not really something that we want to pay too much attention to. So right now, if we're looking at the system overview, we can get some quick ideas in terms of what's actually going on with the body. The first thing is, from a kind of biofield perspective, what this is telling us is we should pay attention to sacred geometry. So I'll come back to that actually. And then within the mind, we need to pay attention to the brain anatomy, and then we need to pay attention to the Bach flower essences. Within your body function, we've got spinal energy, amino acids, you've got food sensitivities, and then scrolling all the way down, that's pretty much it. So right now, if I'm kind of looking at this body, at this individual, I know we have issues with spinal energy, amino acids, sensitivities, the brain anatomy, Bach flower essences, and then some sacred geometry as well. So the first thing is that if you want to actually drill down, deeper into the body and try to sort of glean more information, you can see we've got these little triangles on the right-hand side, which is not that. If I click on the triangle, you'll see it'll open up the respective sub-panel. So here what we're looking at is the sacred geometry. Now, for those of you that are familiar with sacred geometry, great. Those of you that are not familiar with sacred geometry, do some Googling, do some research. You'll see that within nature, sacred geometry is everywhere. From the fruits we eat, to the plants, to the animals, to nature in general. Everything has been designed according to specific mathematical principles. Even our body has certain sacred geometrical shapes. Our body is in perfect sort of unison with us and with nature. And even if you look at the kind of the in terms of your body's proportions, your foot will be a certain size, your fingers will be a certain size, etc. All that is within a specific sacred geometrical portion. And I would suggest, do some research about sacred geometry. But the reality is, probably what you're telling me is, well, how's sacred geometry going to help me understand, something about my client? Well, it's not really going to help you understand anything about your client. The only thing that we need to do is pay attention and say, well, hang on. Within sacred geometry here, we've got the body has reacted to both your perfect right triangles and then your sphere. Now, we can't glean any health-related information about this, can we? No. But what we can say is that, hey, the body has reacted to this, so let's actually stimulate the body with these specific frequencies. And the reason why we're selecting this first is, typically with sacred geometry, as I said to you, everything within nature, everything is centered around kind of mathematical principles. Our body is a complex mathematical program. So really what we're doing here is that we're kind of tapping into that sort of energetic field. And my opinion here is that, well, hey, if the body has reacted hard to these sacred geometrical shapes, instead of trying to second guess or whatever it is, let's just go ahead and actually stimulate the body with those specific mathematical algorithms. So from a kind of theoretical perspective, essentially what we're doing is that we are sending in specific frequencies centered around the sacred geometrical shapes of perfect right triangles and spheres. What is theory? And I'm kind of saying theoretically because, we can't actually prove this or we can't sort of disprove it. But the theory behind the sacred geometry is that this is going to open up your sort of energetic pathways. It's going to open up your energetic channels. It's going to get your chi to flow more efficiently. So during this time, you can see we set the balancing for a minute. I don't believe you can actually hear the frequencies right now. Obviously, through the web presentation, you can't. But if you listen to the frequencies are having a beneficial impact on the human body. There's always a few questions in terms of the frequencies. How should I listen to them? How do I know if they're beneficial, etc.? There's a few things to bear in mind. The first thing is, realize the body is being bombarded with thousands of frequencies literally every single millisecond. The good thing about the human body is that it absorbs what it needs and it assimilates what it needs and it kind of discards what it doesn't need. So when we are running these balancing frequencies, the body is absorbing and assimilating what it needs and it's kind of discarding what it doesn't need. Few options. You can either listen to the audio tones or you can get headphones. You can put your headphones on and you can listen to them. Alternatively, I found the tones a bit irritating. So what you can do is that you can have the audio tones just above the audio threshold, and that you'll still experience benefits. And then what other practitioners do is that they take specific headphones, and then they use the headphones as a type of sort of localized treatment process. In other words, they will, let's say they're working on a chakra or on a specific organ, they'll actually take those headphones and place them directly over a specific part of the body for that balancing. So if you can see, we spent a minute balancing. Down on the bottom here, it gave us a % rectification. So that % rectification, it's in red all the way down on the bottom. It shows us there's an 84% rectification. Okay, so then the question is, well, what does 84% rectification mean after 1 minute? To me, what that means is that these frequencies were not really beneficial to the clients. If you look at the body electric, which is how energy medicine kind of views the body. When you have a lot of resistance in the body's kind of absorbing that frequency. It's saying, yes, I need it. That's going to increase the kind of resistance within the body. As you increase the resistance within the body, you are going to have a sort of lower % rectification. But if after 1 minute you're getting an 84% rectification, you kind of sending frequencies into the body and the body's saying, nah, don't really need it. And it's kind of passing through the body with no sort of resistance, and it's not kind of absorbing and assimilating that frequency. So, that gives you a kind of glimpse into the way the % rectifications work. Always good to sort of pay attention to that. My feeling with the % rectifications, if you can get anything from like 20 to 40% rectification, you've done a great job. I will discuss that probably in another training, but typically, you don't want to sort of override the body's natural defense system, just rather, less of more and sort of more of less. Okay, so that's the first balancing that we did. Didn't really give us, much information. But now let's have a look at the brain anatomy, the spinal energy, amino acids, and sensitivities. Before I go any further, there's a few things I'd like to share with you. The first thing is, we obviously run the assessment and then here we get the results. The next thing is that once we've got the results, we now want to, sort of drill down deeper into the body and try to identify, deeper issues that may be causing system imbalances. Once we've identified those, we want to be able to create, different playlists or different frequencies to help get the body back into balance. So with that said, we've got 3 different options. You've got your daily balancing tray, which is the top one, which is what we just did. We dragged those 2 sacred geometrical frequencies into the daily balancing tray. You've then got the main whole tray, which is down on the bottom over here. And the difference between the daily balancing tray and the main whole tray is the main whole tray you sort of using to gather information throughout your session. And then once you've got all of your items together, then you sort of do an overall balancing with all of those items together. Whereas your daily balancing tray are items that you've kind of identified in that moment that you want to go ahead and sort of balance in that moment. Main whole tray is slightly different. It's more of a sort of whole tray where you want to hold all of the items in a tray for balancing towards the end of the session, where you've got a whole bunch of different items that are all kind of supporting your view or supporting the picture of your client. And then we balance all of those items together for a sort of deeper energetic cleanse. So again, now looking at the clinical context here, we've got spinal energy, amino acids, and sensitivities. Based on the clinical context of the client, I'm going to go ahead and drill down deeper into the sensitivities. So here we look at the red items. We've got grass, we've got nuts, we've got milk, we've got oats. And then down on the bottom, we've got sugar, and then we've got fish as well. So for argument's sake, I'm just going to bring all of these into my main whole tray for the meantime, because I can relate to all of these with this client. So to bring these down into a tray, you basically click and then hold and then drag it down or drag it up. And then those items will be stored in the tray. And as you can see, they are now there in the tray. And at any one time, I can go ahead and click on the balance, and it'll play the energetic frequencies for those specific items. So the other thing as well I did want to point out to you is that we have, if you look on the bottom here, there's a quick balance, which is high and low items only. This is what a lot of our users do. It's really simple, it's really quick, it's really easy, and it really gets the job done. So if we're at the system overview page here, you'll see we have a quick balance button, which is on the bottom there. That time is controlled by this little green slider, which goes up and down. And you can set the time here. What a lot of practitioners do, they just get straight to the system overview. They set this for about 10 minutes, and then they click on the quick balance. What happens during the quick balance is that it automatically balances the items that are high and the items that are low within each and every panel. So to put that into perspective, if we had to go ahead and activate that, it would be balancing the perfect right triangles, the sphere. It would be balancing the Nogier B, Nogier C and F, every single red item and every single blue item. But now, bear in mind, you'll see that I'm actually opening these. So as long as these panels are open, it's going to be balancing the red and the blue items. If this panel, if for example, spiritual protection is closed, you'll see that it will not be addressing spiritual protection because the group of spiritual protection is not high. But as an example, Bach flower essences, yes, it will be balancing a kind of group frequencies for Bach flower essences. But if I want to do the individual frequencies, I would have that Bach flower essences open like this. And now I know it's going to be generating specific frequencies for elm, chicory, serato, and then agrimony. And these are all Bach flower essences as well, okay? So that's important to bear in mind. You can set your time, and then when you're ready, you just go ahead and you click on the quick balance, sit back, relax for 10 or 15 minutes while the Resonance Pro does its magic. And during this time, it's basically balancing all of the items that are high, all of the items that are low. It's a real quick, easy way to start using your Resonance Pro. For those of you that are not familiar with it, I would certainly suggest you sort of try that out as well. But let's just come back a bit. As I said, we're at the allergies, I believe. Yep. So if we have a look at the sensitivities here, we've got grass, we've got nuts, we've got milk, and we have oats. So if you want to drill down deeper as well into any specific one of these, where I don't know, it would be so beneficial with the sensitivity. So let's actually go to the spinal energy. So if we have a look at the spinal energy, it's giving our reactions here again in red. So the highest reaction here is your thoracic 7 and then your lumbar 3. So looking at this, let's say I want to drill down deeper, because this is a kind of one level of investigation where, hey, we did a scan on the spinal energy, thoracic 7 is high. Okay, great. We need to go ahead and balance that, which we can bring these down anyways. But I want to see if there's any kind of supporting items or anything else which is contributing to the thoracic 7. So if I click on that, it'll open up the sub panel. So this is a breakdown of just the specific spinal panel. I click on the item that I want to drill down deeper, and then this opens up the Entangled Insights. So the Entangled Insights is a deeper, it's like a deeper dive where, as you can see, the TH7, thoracic 7, is now loaded into this tray. And now when I click on load all, tap here, this is a separate database of thousands and thousands of different substances that I can now compare against the thoracic 7. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on load all and then click on check. What we are doing now is we've identified thoracic 7 as a probability of disturbance, as a high reaction. But now we want to try and see, or try to understand, if there's more items which may be contributing to that thoracic 7. So what we did is that we accessed the Entangled Insights. And by clicking on the Entangled Insights, we loaded a whole separate database. And what we did is we now compared this database of individual items against the thoracic 7. So typically, if it's 100%, we want to pay attention. 98% is sort of still important as well. So we can look in the 90s. And then we have a few options here. Is, let's say we identify a few of these items that are kind of supporting so what we're trying to do here is basically identify items which are basically contributing to the imbalance of the thoracic 7. What we want to do is bring all of those items together into the main whole tray, because now we've got a kind of supporting treatment protocol where we've now identified certain items that are all sort of supporting one another, and they're all contributing to the same type of imbalance. So what we want to do is that, once we've got all of these items together, we then go ahead and provide an overall balancing within the items within the main whole tray. And in doing that, it's a kind of shotgun approach, but it's a kind of sort of laser targeted approach as well. Because the shotgun approach, what I'm implying is that all of these items that are within the main whole tray, we've now identified as all having significant relationship to one another. And then the shotgun approach means we're going to balance them all at the same time. But the laser targeted approach means that out of 10, 15, 20,000 items within the Resonance Pro, we've sort of identified a core component of 20, 30 different items that are all forming part of the same picture. Then once we've got these items together, we set the timer for 5 or sort of 10 minutes, and then we get going with the balancing. So that's basically how the Entangled Insights work. If you have a look on the bottom here, it shows you an overall percentage of 50%. So again, this kind of gives you a quick little indication in terms of, how effective these results are. So in other words, I selected TH7, the thoracic 7. I loaded all the entangled insights and I did a scan, and it's given me an overall probability of about 50%. So really what this is telling me is I haven't done such a good job. Maybe what I should have done is maybe gone back, and let's say I still want to investigate the thoracic 7. Maybe what I should have done is just had a look at the emotions. Maybe I should just load the emotions, and then we'll see if that gets a higher percent probability. Because, you must understand, like there's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 items in the Entangled Insights. You scan against all 3,000 or 4,000 items, the percent probability is going to be a lot less, just because you've got more items. Okay, 56%. Okay, still not really ideal, but nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and take some of these items and bring them across. Let's go back to TH7 and let's maybe try Bach flowers. Ideally what we're looking for here is about a sort of 70 to sort of 80% success. But again, if you don't get 70 or 80%, always look at the clinical context, and by all means, if you are not getting a high reaction, but these items still make sense to you, then by all means, you want to bring these down into your main hold tray. And bearing in mind, if there's specific items that you see that you kind of want to balance right now, you just drag them up into the daily balancing tray. As you can see, let's get rid of those little sacred geometricals, and then we just go ahead and click on play. And now what we're doing a kind of instant balancing on the specific Bach flower here, but down in the main hold tray, we've got 26 items, and as we are going through the program, we're sort of gathering more information, we're collating more information, we're trying to find items of significant probability, items of significance with one another that we then want to scan against the body. I'm just going to go ahead and click on stop. And the subpanels and Entangled Insights we'll explain. So just briefly, as you can see, we've got about 26 items here. I can go ahead. Typically, in a situation like this, you want to have it set to about 10 minutes, but I'm just going to set it down to maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And off we go. So there's still a lot more to cover within the Resonance Pro. But if you do have any questions, please, on the right-hand side, ask your questions or forever hold your peace. But we will be back on Tuesday. I will certainly be back on Tuesday to provide more training on either the Resonance Home or the Resonance Pro. My sense is possibly the Resonance Pro, because I think the Resonance Home is pretty simple to learn how to use, to learn how to operate. But for those of you that have taken your time out today to spend some time with me, thank you. My name is Ryan Williams, one of the founders of Resonance Research, and look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.